Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Denchi. I'm the Director of XTOL's Worldwide Partner Program, and I'm here today to offer a presentation on Integrate to Innovate Your Retail Supply Chain. Our agenda for this session is something I like to call business as usual. The dollar value of integration, something we don't really consider when we're looking at why we should be integrating. Opportunities to integrate. A reality check on something we're probably not even thinking about that's going to creep up on us, and then talking about integrate to innovate. So business as usual, what are we really integrating today? On the business-to-business side, the B2B, it's usually EDI and X12, or could be Edifact if you're working outside of the US. Order-to-cash processes, most common to be integrated. Logistics and status movement, we're seeing a significant increase in this as kind of retail shifts into more online ordering. I mean, obviously Amazon, eBay, things like that are driving this. On the A2A side, application to application, moving business data between systems. You know, this data could be flat files, which is really the most common A2A formats, XML, or even direct database to database, although in an ERP situation, this usually is not the best practice, but in homegrown situations, we do see this quite a bit. So some opportunities to actually integrate. On the B2B side, obviously EDI onboarding of trading partners is an incredibly rich opportunity. So how long does it usually take to onboard? You have new EDI document types, you have new trading partners. You have to look at how long is it really taking us now, the current way we do things, and are there better ways? And we'll talk about that a little farther down. Handling change requests of existing B2B integrations. This happens quite a bit. If you were in a non-EDI environment in a B2B situation and your trading partner, let's say they were sending you flat files and now they've decided to move to SAP, they could be sending you iDocs instead of EDI. So dealing with that change request in a timely manner is critical to maintaining their line of business. Faster document processing, just being able to handle more data more quickly allows the business to grow. And the simple fact is, if you are easier to do business with, that's going to enable and drive your revenue growth. And that's a very proven fact, and we're going to talk about that over and over throughout this session. On the application to application side, and this is usually internal, leveraging existing investment in systems. You know, what's the dollar value of the data moving through your systems? If you think about we'll take order to cash as a very simple example. On a day-to-day basis, what is the actual dollar value of all the incoming orders, invoices going out, shipment statuses, stock movements? What is the value of that? It is generally far more than we typically expect it to be. You know, what can be improved? You know, stock movements. Can we build integrations between systems so the notifications are clear, especially if you're dealing with third-party warehouses? And that ties me right into my third-party integrations of 3PLs and service providers. How timely can we provide information to them or receive information back? You know, years and years ago, we did batch processing where jobs would run at 2 in the morning. Data would move out and update systems. Now everything is real time, where as things change, you know, your third-party providers, your service providers also need to be updated in a timely fashion as well. So here's a little reality check. How much data moves around your organization in spreadsheets? This is something that we're seeing rapidly growing in adoption. When you think about moving data around on spreadsheets, at first it sounds silly. It's like, why would you want to do that? But the spreadsheet is the tool that is the most commonly understood. It's the lowest common denominator in the business world. Virtually everyone working in business understands a spreadsheet and can use it to some level of competency and functionality. But what is this really costing you? And one thing to really consider with data that moves around on spreadsheets and then maybe gets hand-keyed in to a back-end system is what decisions are being made on stale data. I would do presentations for many executives, both here and in Europe, and would ask this question: how much data moves around your organization on spreadsheets? And so many times I see IT directors put their head down, and their comment when I ask them why they're doing this, they say they don't want to think about how much data moves around because they could be making decisions on stale data. So something to consider from an integration side as well. If data is moving around on spreadsheets, can you get that data into the appropriate systems it should be going into in an automated way, rather than counting on someone finding time to open it up and possibly process it manually, which also introduces potential errors in keying. So data is a very valuable corporate asset, but we never treat it like that. We never really stop to think about the liveliness and the timeliness of the data as being very valuable. And again, how much is the data worth in dollars? You know, the purchase orders that are flowing through, the invoices, stock movements, and there's an enormous amount of dollar value tied into stock movements that a lot of companies don't take into account. And service requests, especially if you're a product and services organization, say a trucking company, a trucking logistics company. One area that integration really helps with is driving down costs. By being able to rapidly integrate your existing environments, you are going to drive down your processing costs. You're going to cut down on rework. More accurate information is available timely. Ways you can do this is removing the handwritten code. And again, I'm saying this tongue-in-cheek, but I also mean this very seriously from experience. If you can find all the handwritten code, a lot of companies, especially if somebody started out with a legacy system, there are old processes that are running that sometimes new staff don't even know why it's running. Sometimes the old staff don't remember why it's even running. It's just we always did it this way. You may not need to do that. There may be better ways to actually handle that. Extending the life of existing systems. If you made an investment in a commercial ERP, you want to get the most out of that you possibly can. You may want to provide new interfaces like XML or web services for your customers to be able to look up order and shipment status. You may want to put a web portal in front of your integration system, so they're not calling into the IT coordinators, the EDI coordinators. They can actually query the status and errors themselves. So that's a big savings in cost and drives down a huge amount of time. Being able to rapidly deal with change. Trading partner requests, as we talked about. Mergers and acquisitions. This is an interesting area of integration that companies sometimes don't think about. If your company is in the process of growing through acquisitions, you need to onboard the data from those companies very quickly and very easily. And integration can help with that. And plus, you can actually create almost like an onboarding template for acquisitions to become a real strategic value to the firm by helping onboard those new companies very quickly. New lines of business. Everyone is always looking for new opportunities, how to grow the revenue, and as new lines of business come on, being able to deal with those changes very rapidly cuts down the costs of product launch. So from a process integration side, something to consider with integration: are your processes and data flows seamless? Do they require human intervention? And one very critical aspect of all of this: does this keep you up at night? Do you get 3 a.m. wake-up calls because something is broken? I remember a colleague of mine frequently tells a story where he worked for a very large global shipping company. And he would tell the younger developers in our company stories from a mission-critical standpoint about 747s sitting on a tarmac because a record in a database didn't update properly, and getting a call that he'd have to go in and, the pressure to get this achieved, to get this plane up in the air on its way. Those types of 3 a.m. mission-critical nightmares. Certainly proper process integration helps avoid that stuff. And again, all of these things, what is it really costing you? Stop and think about this. What is the real impact to the firm on this? It could be financial penalties coming back to the firm. It could be rework costs, typically almost always is, but it also could be opportunity cost and customer loyalty, and that if these things happen often enough, the customer may doubt your ability to deliver and execute, on your agreements. So let's talk about integrate to innovate. Centralized integration really is a fundamental idea of moving all your integration into one point, one single point that you can manage and control everything. You have visibility to everything going on, and you can ensure that things are running smooth. And what we're talking about is with our XTOL Business Integrator. This sits at the center of everything. It sits at the center of your external trading partners, warehouses, your cloud and SaaS applications, and your back-end applications, which could be ERPs. These could be trucking management systems, warehouse management systems, CRMs, anything like that, and databases, which could be from custom legacy built systems. And having a system like the XTOL Business Integrator positioned in between lets you build all of those B2B integrations, lets you build all of those A2A integrations and manage them all from one single point, one single viewpoint. So makes life a lot easier to handle everything that's going on. And a solution like this is scalable. So even whether you have 500,000 transactions a day happening or more, or you only have 1,000 transactions a day happening or more, the system can fit that. So some real-world results of these process improvements. Being able to standardize and consolidate processes increases your business efficiency. Synchronizing your data between systems maintains one version of the truth. The S word is the dirty word in IT, having to synchronize between systems. And with enterprise integration, you can do that. You can plan out how, if data changes on a back-end system, triggers can fire to basically raise an event telling the integration system, I need to move this data over wherever it's going. Automating error handling. This is a huge opportunity for process improvements in most organizations. Being able to identify when an error happens and how to, what the disposition of it is, how to dispose of it or dispatch it to the proper resources to get it addressed very, very quickly. It certainly creates a greater accuracy in your environment, but it also raises the bar on your level of service. And your customers and your vendors, your trading partners, they're going to notice that. And that speaks right to vendor and customer loyalty. Improving the process improvements if you're suffering from chargebacks. This is money that goes right to the bottom line. There is not a CFO out there that would ignore something that could reduce his chargebacks, as long as the ROI is significant and sufficient. But this is actually very significant, and there are retailers, if you're dealing in the retail world, there are trading partners that are the channel masters that if you're dealing with them, you may be suspect of chargeback, and that may be an opportunity for you as well. And again, improving your vendor scorecard for revenue growth. This gives you the ability to win new business. Increasing your scorecard, again, speaks to vendor and customer loyalty. And if you're easy to do business with and you're delivering on your promises, they may want to do more business with you. That's very, very likely. So some takeaways from this session, and this session is actually designed to be under a half an hour. It's a very quick peek at integration. Some takeaways. Integration is a very competitive advantage. It gives you the ability to rapidly say yes to requests from your vendors and your partners, no matter what they're asking. If they're saying, we want to approach you and we want to give you XML, yes, that's fine, we can do that. We want to give you EDI. Another customer approaches you and says, I can only produce flat files. Not a problem, we're happy to help. From a B2B partner onboarding, this speaks to time to revenue and to revenue growth, two very critical aspects of expanding the business. On the A2A side, building rapid integrations, it reduces the costs, which also increases time to revenue. And when we're talking about time to revenue, what we really mean is how fast can I build integrations? Can I get these two processes or two sets of data connected? It allows you to integrate more data sources, improving the data quality, which reduces your costs, reduces rework, get better ROI from your existing systems. Automating the exception handling reduces your costs, improves better service levels. It exposes data to customers and partners. That enables self-serve, which actually is a tremendous value in building integrations. Again, it speaks to reducing costs, reduces the phone calls the IT group receives. It increases the efficiency of the organization, and it builds loyalty with the customers. Your customers and your partners feel more connected to you. They feel more like it's part of a team. Exposing the data to your customers offers a better value and quality of service, again, stronger trading relationships, and that is going to translate into revenue growth. You're going to become a preferred vendor, and they're going to focus on that. So this presentation, again, like I said, was very short, speaking about integration, and we did have a couple of questions that popped in. First question that I saw was, Mark, do you put more focus on B2B integrations or A2A integrations? And that actually really depends on the company situation. If it's just very specific to the company and where they are in their space and time. What I typically have seen as companies have approached us is they generally approach us from a B2B standpoint. And as we're just showing our products and how flexible it is and how easily it is to do B2B and A2A, they start realizing that they can be using this for A2A as well. And then the conversation kind of takes a slight turn, and it becomes more holistic from a B2B and A2A standpoint. So again, where I would put the focus, B2B is probably more bang for the buck to the organization, but if you have a full B2B implementation, then look to the A2A side. And let me bring up another question here, and this one's a great one. How long does a typical integration take to go live? Now this certainly depends on what we're talking about. Let's use an EDI transaction, maybe inbound to an SAP iDoc, something like that, or it could be a JD Edwards interface, anything like that. Typically with our software, our experience is with taking time to test with your partner, and that's generally where the holdup is. And time is getting the partner to actually be willing to devote some time to test with you. Sometimes you can have these integrations built very quickly, but you have to wait until this partner can schedule in some testing. Generally, the integrations, and if the partner is available to test, take less than 20 hours. You can actually build these very quickly, and that's the first time you've ever built an integration. Let's say you're building an EDI 850 into an SAP orders iDoc. Now, the interesting thing is, in our tool, the way we do something called collaboration, if you're going to do your next trading partner document, their 850, it's probably within 10 to 15% similar to the first partner. So when we do that, you actually only take 2 to 4 hours. And again, the delay is whether you're going to see time that the partner is going to devote to you or not. And then by partner, I could say, in that case, it's B2B. But in an A2A situation, it could be if, the appropriate resources in another division in your company are available to test. So when you're building integrations, one thing I like to look at is plan the testing very, very early so you could get it scheduled and you could work to that, because that's the hardest part, getting people to commit the resources. For more information, please go to xtold.com. I'd like to thank everybody for joining, and I wish you a wonderful week.